If you don't have SAP PO system and you still want to practice mapping implementation, this is the right demo. Because in this demo, I'm going to upload the source structure and the target structure to implement message mappings graphically. I'll try to use that message mapping in the integration flow to map the OData response of order details to the target structure. In this demo, I'm going to briefly explain the message mapping feature of SAP CPI. We'll try to take an example. I'll try to explain how you can implement mappings from your file system. As you can see in this diagram, we have a sender system and we have a receiver system. Sender system is based on SOAP protocol, and the receiver system is a OData service which will provide the order details. Inside the integration flow, we have 3 steps: the content modifier, the request and reply, and the message mapping step. We use content modifier to fetch the order number from the input payload. We use request reply to call the OData service to get the order details from the receiver. And finally, we use order response mapping step. Basically, it is a graphical message mapping step which maps the OData service response to the target structure. In this demo, I'll try to explain how you can create message mappings by using WSDL and EDMX definition. I will export these definitions to SAP CPI to define these mappings. I have uploaded all the necessary files to the GitHub. For this demo, what you need is, you need a WSDL file, which is get order shipment details WSDL file, which is our source structure. You need a EDMX definition, that is a target structure, which will generate automatically in CPI. And I have given a simple input text XML to test your mappings. And finally, I also uploaded the mapping that I implemented in my scenario. If you want to use this mapping, feel free to download and use the mapping in your practice. Without further delay, let's begin. And so we have a sender. Let me pull this up. Okay. So let me draw a connection between the sender and the start step. And I'm going to create a SOAP communication channel here. So select SOAP and SOAP 1.x. Now in the center communication channel and the connection, I'm going to give an endpoint. Oops, this is not the one. Okay, let me type the address / over data mapping demo. Yeah, so this is the endpoint for your SOAP channel. And now in the service definition, instead of manual, I'm going to select a WSDL. So WSDL definition. So as you can see, there's nothing available at the moment. So I'm going to upload a file from my local machine. So this is a file I need to upload now, the WSDL file. Click open. So once you upload the file, you can see automatically the service and endpoint gets loaded from the WSDL definition. And I'm going to keep the remaining settings as it is. Okay, now the center channel communication is done. So now let me look at the second step, which is a content modifier. Here, I'm going to set a message header. I have created a variable here, which is an order ID. So let me show you the input WSDL. As you can see, this is the WSDL have imported. So we have a request type, which is order number type, which is an input field called order number. And this order number I'm setting as a header. And now this is a response that this service gives me back. And this is also complex type, and it has many fields. So this is a request message, and this is a response message. Okay, so I just created a variable of order ID, and I'm reading it from the input value called order number, and I'm just using a source step XPath, and of course the type is string. So very simple. Okay. Now I'm going to show the third step, which is a request reply. As you can see, there's nothing much here. I'm just using this tab to pull the data from the OData service. I'm going to create an OData channel here. So select the OData here, OData V2. And now I need to configure the receiver channel. In the connection, I need to give the address. So I need to enter the free OData service that we have been using. So I'm going to enter the same URL here as well. Yeah, so this is the URL I'm going to use. This is a free service. You can also use the same. And rest remains the same, rest by setting configurations. Now I'm going to do the processing here. Select. And you can see automatically the wizard actually created everything for me. So click on the step 2. And now select the entity. So I'm going to use operation query and entity is orders. And I'm going to create a response with all the select fields. So I'm just selecting select all the fields here. And I'm going to define the filter. So click on the filter. I want to filter by order ID, and it should be equal to my header value. So how do you represent a variable in SAP CPI? It should start with a dollar. Okay, dollar, and then give the variable name header dot order ID. Sorry, order ID. So this is the variable that I have in my runtime. So this is a query at the end. So I'm selecting few fields. I'm just selecting on a filter, okay, on a filter called order ID. Click on finish. As you can see, it actually generated the EDMX file. So this is a file it automatically generates for me. And you can find this file in the references section. So you see, it automatically created this file when I created this OData channel. I need this for my mapping. I will show you in the next step, okay? So the step 1 is done. Basically, we configured a SOAP and receiver OData, and we just looking up the data in the OData service channel. Okay, let me save it. And then I'll deploy it. Okay, there is a warning here. Let me see what is a warning here. So let me go back to the problems. Yeah, let me go back to the problems here. You can see it is complaining about the version of the OData. That's fine. We can ignore this. It's just a warning. It's not an error. You can ignore this. Now deploy it. So let me deploy it. Yes. So the first version of the integration flow is ready now. I'm going to test it. Okay. Now let me go back to the monitoring. So this is where you monitor everything in SAP CPI, and click on the current integration content. So this is IF OData service, integration flow OData service. Okay. So when you deploy an integration flow with a SOAP channel, SAP CPI automatically generates an endpoint. By using this endpoint, you call the integration flow. Okay. I think you should already know if you've been already practicing my integration scenarios. Okay, let me refresh again. For some reason, it's not getting displayed. Let me refresh. Maybe it's taking some time to generate the, okay, now you can see the endpoint got created. What you need to do is you need to download the WSDL file, because we're going to use this WSDL file from the SOAP UI to trigger the integration flow. First, download the WSDL file that SAP CPI does generated automatically. Now let me go back to the SOAP UI. Okay. So this is SOAP here. This is SOAP here. I already imported the WSDL file. Okay. I imported the WSDL file from SAP CPI, and as you can see, I have a project here. And I just created a request, and now you need to enter the user ID and password from your BTP cockpit. So now after you enter the user ID password, so this is the project I just created. Okay, and this is the message operation, and now this is the message. Okay, so now I'm entered the order number here, 10250. So this is a sample order I have in the OData service that I can use. Now click on the execute submit button. Then what happens is the call goes to integration flow in the SOAP center channel, and I got 200, which means successful, which is good. And now if you can see, this is the response I got from the OData service. So this is the order details of the given order ID. Okay, request and response directly from the OData service. Now let's go to the monitoring here. Okay, now I'm back to the integration flow, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mapping for our response message mapping. Okay. Now click on add message mapping here. Okay. Here you have three options. You can create a message mapping, you can upload a message mapping, or you can import from the SAP PO system, that is ES repository. But here I'm going to create a message mapping from scratch. So give it a name, message mapping, demo or data order, data to ship, okay, no, data to new destination structure. Yeah, let's give it a name here. And add and open in the editor. So basically it opens the mapping editor of the SAP CPI, which is a web-based mapping editor. If you know in SAP PO, we have a very good mapping editor in the web client, but here will be doing the mapping in the web UI itself. Let me quickly explain what is the mapping that we're trying to achieve here. As you can see here, we have a SOAP, which is a WSDL, which is our source structure. This WSDL has two structures. One is the request structure, the second one is the response structure. Similarly, on the OData side, in the EDMX entity data model XML, we have request and response. In this demo, we'll try to implement a graphical mapping in SAP CPI to map the OData service response message to the SOAP response message. This output is going to be sent to the sender. So this is the mapping that we're trying to implement here. So let's start with the mapping implementation. So the mapping has been created and it's going to open in the mapping editor. So this is a mapping editor you can see here. Let me edit this. Pretty simple. Source structure, target structure, and mapping between the fields. That's what we do, and that's what we have been doing as an integration consultant for many years. Now let me upload the definitions, the source structure and target structure. So you can upload WSDL, you can upload XML, you can upload EDMX, or you can upload Groovy scripts. So let me select the source structure. That is my web service. That is WSDL. Okay. And now I'm going to download the EDMX file that is generated. Okay. So now if you go to the references of the integration flow, now I will be downloading this because I need this for creating a mapping, right? So I just downloaded this EDMX file from the OData service. Now let me go back to the mapping again. So I'm going to upload the same file here as well. So file upload, okay. Add. Okay, fine. Probably I made a mistake, but you will know the mistake in the later stage. Okay, let me define the source type here. So I'm going to select the source as OData because I need to map the OData response to my target structure. So it loaded my OData structure, the source structure, and now I'm going to load the target structure, which is my web service. Okay, so let's load it. As you can see here, occurrence 1-to-1, which is mandatory, because 1-to-1 means it's a mandatory field, you need to map it, and 0-to-1 is optional here. The red color indicates it's a mandatory field and it should be mapped. If you don't map it, it will throw an error. So let me drag and drop from source to the target one by one. As you can see, order ID, destination order ID, customer ID, destination customer ID. I just want to keep it simple for you. Okay, so just map 1-to-1, all the fields. So once it is mapped, the color will go away. See, which is because they are mapped. Okay. Okay. And I have given one extra field, that is unique identifier, which I'm going to set as a constant. So let me assign as a constant here. Okay. So let me give some value. In the later stage, I'll explain the number ranges in SAP CPI. So for that, I just kept it as a placeholder, but I will do a separate video on number ranges. So I will use that field later on. Okay. So now I've mapped all the fields, and you can see you can minimize and maximize all the fields like this, plus and minus buttons. You can expand and minimize all the fields. And after the mapping is done, what you need to do, you need to test the mapping because you need to make sure the mapping actually works as expected. So for this, you need to go to simulate. So you need to give a sample input XML and then test it, and it should generate the target XML as expected. So for this demo, I already created a sample input XML. So let me select that. So this input data I want to use. So sample use. Now let me click test. So it's going to render the data in the background. So basically it is trying to execute the source data conversion to the target data based on the mapping definition that you just did. If the mapping is okay, if there's no conflict of any issues, then it will just map it from the source to target. Otherwise it will throw an error. Okay, now you can see the output has been generated, and you can see the constant value, the identifier is also set to number range value that is set. Okay. For now, that's good. Let me close it. Now what you're going to do is, after the development is done, testing is done, now click on deploy. So we deploy it. Let me minimize this. Let me save and deploy. Let me deploy this mapping. Okay. And here you can also delete or replace the mappings. You can do this like this, replace message and so on. You can also delete the map message. And if you want to change anything, click on OK. And let me deploy it. Click on deploy. So basically, once it is deployed, it actually creates a runtime object in the SAP CPI tenant. Okay. Now, let me go back to this package again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the mapping that I just created. Okay. So this is how you download the mapping. Sorry, wrong click. Let me go back again. Okay, now here there is a mapping. Click on this and download. Okay. When you click on the download, basically it downloads the whole content of the mapping in a zip format. Okay. Now let me go back to the downloads here in the zip. If you double click it, and it's a different structure here. But what I am interested in is basically in the source. So you have all the mapping definitions and structure definitions. So I want the mapping here. You see, this is the mapping file I want for my integration flow. So this is the mapping I need in the later stage. So let me go back to the integration flow again. So I'm going to add the mapping manually in the integration flow like this. So now click on this, go to the references, add mapping and message mapping. And I need to select the MMP extension file, that is a mapping file. Okay, click on this. Let me go back to the zip file I just downloaded and source main, source and mapping. So this MMAPM map. Now click add. Now the file has been added. You see, now I can use this mapping in my integration flow. So this is how you manually add the mapping to the integration flow. So now I'm adding a step called message mapping here. Drag and drop into the integration flow. Okay, now let me organize this a bit more better. Now it's organized. Now click on the message mapping. I want to give it a name. Let me rename the step name. I want to give order response mapping. Okay, order response mapping. In the processing section, click on reference as type as static for now, and click the source, the mapping that you just imported. It is from the local resources. Okay, click on this and click OK. Now what happens? Let me save it. Boom. There's something wrong with this mapping, you see, because, okay, let me open this mapping, click on here. Okay, now you can see the mapping is opened that I just created. Let me go back again. Let me see. Oh, okay, you see there's a red mark here, which means there's something wrong with the mapping. As I told you before, there's a small mistake that we did here. Let me explain what was the mistake. So if you go to the mapping and go to the problems there, it will explain. You see, source element content is not found. The file is svc1edmx. It has a 1. Okay, but if you go to the references, let me go to the references. You see, we don't have any file called 1, but we have only without 1 we have. So it's a different file than we actually used in the mapping. That's what. So we need to fix the mapping again. Let me go back to the mapping because I imported a wrong file. Okay, now, so this is a file. Basically, let me move this a bit. Sorry, let me edit this mapping first. Okay, let me edit the mapping here. Okay, let me edit this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the wrong file and I'm going to import the file again because I used a wrong file in the mapping. That's what it's complaining about. You see, there is a 1 there. It is wrong. It should not have 1. Okay, there's a one. I should have. Let me remove this, delete here. And now let me upload the real file. So now click on real downloads, and now if you see, yeah, this is the file I should choose. Okay, now click on add. The beauty is, if you just delete the old file and import a new file, basically the mapping doesn't go anywhere. You see, if you go back there, click on edit here, just click now add, and let me set the right file now. Okay, click on the orders, click on OK. You see the mappings are restored. The mappings are not gone because it's the same definition, but the file name is different. I think it's a good feature actually. So otherwise, if you lose the mapping, then you have to map everything one to one. It's actually painful. Let me test again, just in case, if the import is okay and all. So I'm selecting the import file again. Click on test. Just testing. Okay, now this test is successful. We got the expected output. Click on close and save and deploy. Yes. Whenever you make a change, don't forget to deploy it. If you don't deploy it, then you don't have the new version. I'm downloading the file again because the structure is changed. So I just download the new file. Okay, now if download, so this is a new zip file that it created. I need to import the mapping again. Okay, let me go back to the integration flow, go to the references. I'm going to delete the old mapping and I'm going to import the new mapping. Okay, browse, source, main, sources, mapping. Okay, this is the new mapping file. Click on open. Okay, click on add. Now you have the mapping imported. So ignore the red one. When you save it, it will go away automatically. Okay. Now let me go back to the mapping step again. In the processing section, I'm going to select the new mapping. Okay. Click OK. Now let me save it just to see if it works or not. Now you see, there's no more red there. And in the references, there's nothing wrong. Everything is clean now. Perfect. So the mapping is done. So what happens is, so you called a SOAP channel, and SOAP, in the SOAP input, you have given an order number. Order number has been passed to the OData service, and OData service responded with some message. And now your mapping, OData responds to your custom message mapping, okay? Custom structure. That's what this mapping is doing here. Okay, let me go back to the integration process here. Okay, now that it is edited and deployed, let me edit again. Okay, save it. And let me deploy this, okay, one more time, just in case. Now it's deployed. Let me go back to the SOAP UI. Let me go back to the monitoring. Okay, now it's deployed. Let me go back to the monitoring. Okay, you can see here the integration flow has been deployed, and you can see the new message mapping also deployed. Okay, now let me go back to the SOAP UI. So what should happen now? So this is old structure. Now if you click on the submit button, the status is 200, which is pretty good. Now in the XML, you can see the new structure, which means the mapping has been successfully executed and you got the new structure information. Okay, this information, the new structure that a target system expects. So the mapping works, the OData call works, and the end-to-end integration also works. So this is the integration flow that we implemented. Okay, that is the end of the demo. Hope you learned something new here, the new message mapping. So how you can use message mapping manually from your local file system. If you don't have access to SAP PO system, this is the best way how you can practice mapping development in SAP CPI. And if you like the video, always consider giving a like, share the video, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching.